Hello, magnificent malty mates. Yeah, it's a malt mention. Similar to a previous one, but slightly different. It's mentioned in the plural, but mentioned in the singular is Larry Bounds, who has provided that malt mention. So thank you, Larry. Welcome everybody to the Bothy. Welcome to Ralphie Review 1041, in which I am concluding a short summer series of reviewing whiskies and rums that I have bought at auction. So despite the fact that the majority of what I review for you on this channel being funded by myself through my Patreon subscribers and a little bit of Google AdSense revenue, I'm buying what I review. This gives me freedom to buy what I want to review, which means that it's not always the best quality of whiskey, because I'm aware that there has to be diversity of some very well recognised brands and less well recognised brands. Excuse me a second. I've got a cat in the bothy. No. There's your treats down there. See your treats. Okay, see down there. See your treats. There you are, sweetheart. Yeah, down you go. Thank you. Ah, he's a good cat. That's little Fluffy. Quite the diva, actually, aren't you? Yeah. So this is the concluding review of a short series where every whiskey or rum has actually been bought not in a high street shop or an online retailer at retail accessibility prices, but at secondary market prices. The primary market is a high street retailer, whether it be Costco, a supermarket, Amazon, or a specialist whiskey shop somewhere. And the secondary market is when the bottle of liquor, whatever it may be, is put into auction by a seller in order to get a little bit, hopefully, if they're lucky, get a little bit of profit on the fact that they've kept and looked after a bottle of spirit, which may be more valuable to someone else if they're prepared to pay for it. And that's basically the way it works. One note of caution I highly recommend you be aware of is that when bottles are stored for years, if not decades, the seller doesn't really think about the quality of storage. So you could find bottles of whiskey being stored in someone's loft that gets very hot in the summer, and it's put there to be out of reach, out of sight and out of mind, and it's considered a relatively safe place where people aren't going to kind of dig into it at certain times of year. You know, the New Year, for example, or someone's birthday, or just a general party. So someone will have this bottle of liquor and they never get around to drinking it, and if you're unlucky it's been stored in a loft. If you are lucky it's been just stored on its own, the bottle, in the back of a cupboard, undisturbed, out of direct light, away from any significant fluctuating temperatures. And the fact is that it's always a gamble buying at auction if you're planning to open the bottle and drink it, because it can change in the bottle the wrong way as well as the right way. You've probably heard of old bottle effect, where the conditioning, there's not cask maturation going on in a bottle, but there is a certain conditioning goes on in a bottle slowly over time, and this results in a phenomenon called old bottle effect. Now, it can enhance the whiskey, but equally it can undermine the quality of a whiskey, particularly for some reason blended whiskies that have a high proportion of column still grain, which contains a lot of corn. Corn doesn't seem to weather very well in bottles. Rum does, definitely, absolutely, and so does single malt whiskey. And funnily enough, so has this. It's a bottle of Jura I'm going to review for you. I'll give you the price that I paid for it at the end of the review, and let you decide whether you think I got a bargain. Bargains, by the way, are very few and far between at auctions these days. You can get a good deal, but as regards a good old-fashioned, old-school bargain where you pick up an absolute banger spirit for £20 or $30, those days are well and truly gone. I bought this out of curiosity. I reviewed Isle of Jura early this year, which I bought in a supermarket, and it was competent. Basically, and I mean do mean basically, it was basically competent. It was utterly forgettable. It was bottled at 40%, chill filtered, caramel in it, the usual thing that you get with brands that are presented for passive consumers who, judging by the supermarket shelves, even when whiskey's on discount, people are not buying it because people have got bored of it. Because unfortunately the product's increasingly boring. Yeah, there, I've said it. Tastes move on. What are people drinking now? They're drinking low alcohol and non-alcoholic cocktails. They're drinking vitamin drinks. People are thinking about their health more. For those who are still unafraid to be drunk in public, sure, they're just slamming back as cheap a drink as they can. Tequila, crappy beers, you know, with the low-calorie beer sort of thing going on. And good luck to them, but it's not doing their waistline any good and it's not helping their health. There's a big difference between methodical sipping of quality spirits intermittently over time and people who won't touch a drop of alcohol all week until they go out the weekend and get absolutely hammered. These are the people who are really damaging themselves because of the shock impact on the system. Not that I will have to bother about that with this. This is a longhand sipper. It is a distillery only bottling. So it was bought at the distillery. And of course Jura is that little kind of slightly elongated pear-shaped island just north of Islay that many people don't bother to visit because the only way to Jura is via Islay, and there's no point because there's plenty of distilleries in Islay anyway. So Jura is very much off the beaten track. It's a shame. It's a very practical jobbing distillery. It's got a real old-fashioned, old-school feel about it. It has got a lot of charm. It's got big pot stills, and it produces a great signature whisky, which traditionally, although that's been engineered out now to quite a degree, with the desire for more yield of alcohol. You know, every time you hear a distillery increasing the yield of alcohol, they're decreasing the yield of flavour. Never ever forget that. And here we have it. I'll give you the specifics. This is cask number 1892. It was distilled in September 2007 and bottled in May 2022. And it's bottled at 57.2%. It's called the Distillery Cask. And I was curious about it. I was just curious, and I thought I'd take a risk. I checked other reviews, and they were kind of reasonable. They're quite encouraging, but nothing particularly stand out. And then I open the bottle, I pour a glass, and I am immediately struck by the sheer quality of the cask involved. The cask it doesn't taste like a typical sherry cask, and it is a sherry cask that's been used, or something. It could possibly be Marsala, but it comes across as Palo Cortado sherry, which is quite a nutty traditional style of sherry, where if you're using casks that have contained Palo Cortado sherry, they're not generally shoved off the production line for the Scotch whisky industry. In other words, these sort of casks have actually matured the original product, the original sherry. And I'm struck by the nuttiness on the nose. beautiful, complex, dry tannins, soft tannins and chocolate notes. Dark plums, beautiful, intense, almost savoury raisin notes. And by the way, we're still on the nose here. And immediately I'm nosing this, I'm thinking, this isn't like any Jura I have ever encountered before. I'm really struck initially by the sheer calibre of the cask, which is nothing short of 5-star. Let's have a taste. Super flavoursome, crisp, gingery, and then I'm noticing that touch of nuttiness is slightly walnut, slightly roasted or baked, oven baked walnuts, which is part of the traditional signature of Jura that I don't tend to see or recognise much in the standard ubiquitous bottlings designed for passive consumers. So I'm going to add a drop of water now, because I've had several glasses of this and I have to make sure that this bottle is going to last me at least 5 years, because it is such an unexpected and singular version of Jura. I really want this moment to last, and it's not as if I can go out now to auction and buy another bottle of this for the same price as I bought this one, because the prices are going to go up in it. I know they are. So I've added 2 5-milliliter spoons of water to it from my measuring ladle, and the Scotch mist will shortly appear. The nose, still wonderfully dusty, and it's got that real old school, old world presence and charm and signature about it. I have not tasted a Jura like this for at least 20 years. I know, that sounds shocking. Surely it can't be that much better than the average stuff they're bottling, but seriously, it is. In fact, I hope the distillery manager doesn't actually get into trouble from the owners of the distillery for bottling stuff that's simply too good. And it's disrupting the narrative of the bland presentation of one of Scotland's most underrated distilleries. And don't just take my word for it, Malt Mates. Go and have a look at the other commentators here on YouTube. And you'll find that Jura, when they're talking about the most boring whiskies, Jura is a regular feature in that list. It's unbelievable the way that the distillery is so undersold and underappreciated by its owners, but it doesn't surprise me, because it's the culture. And to have this is one of the things that just keeps me engaged and connected with my channel, is that I've got a little bit of a budget. I can't overspend. I'm not buying the big age statement stuff, because frankly it's not worth the money. It seriously isn't. So I'm looking for these little nuggets, these little diamonds that tend to be underrated and overlooked. And I know that anybody at auction looking at a bottle of Jura is going to think it's probably garbage. It's perfectly understandable. And yet here we have something that is just, it's as good as it gets. It really is an absolute stunning, top quality, magnificent expression of a single malt. It's almost like Casio, the company, producing something dependable and bland in their watches, suddenly deciding to produce a Patek Philippe, a real high-end Swiss-style watch. It never surprises me with the Scotch whisky industry just how inconsistent they are. And I must commend Jura. If ever there was a bottling that reminded you of just how humble distilleries do magnificence. This is it. Let's get back to the nose. Settled down, it's more toffish, beautiful, fudgy, even some real old school Jamaican rum notes in the background there. Excellent, exquisite, intense, wood-infused brulee notes. Soft ginger, mildest of apricots, that consistent, that amplified nuttiness due to the presence and the interaction of a top quality cask. And it just goes on. This is an endless dram. This is a dram where I fully expect, because of my practical experience, that I'll pour a dram in 6 months' time and I'll just discover even more about it, because I'm adding the water to reduce the sting of the alcohol, to give access, the graduated access to the smells and the flavours of this, and both the smell and the flavour are equally as highly impressive. It's a stunner. Beautiful, old school sour note. Rich sour. Wood complex. We're not getting the harsh green American oak sting that you get from your modern generic industrial bourbon casks. This is a different calibre. This the flavoursomness of the wood is impeccable. The finish is intense. A contradiction, actually. It's intense but light and crisp, and yet that heavy resinous tobacco and sort of old workshop note just keeps travelling right through, from the arrival, through the development, into the finish. And it just keeps going. Once you've finished the dram, once you've finally swallowed it, the aftertaste remains. It's bold, it's distinctive, and it is enormously rewarding. What am I going to give this for a malt mark? As I said, I've not tasted a Jura like this in 20 years. So I have tasted the likes of this before, and this is very important because I've got a point of reference. Now, I do have another bottle of 20 or 32-year-old Jura Open, but it's a very different whisky. It's a Berry Brothers and Rudd bottling, and it's very good. It's got a lot of character, and it's a decent version of Jura. But this, you see, this is 15 years old, and therefore the raw signature, the identity of the distillery is still very much intact. And for the 15 years, that age statement, it's everything's on point. Everything. This has been full, active, sympathetic maturation between a flavoursome spirit and a wonderfully flavoursome cask, just growing in each other's presence and really making a magnificent malt moment happen. I'm giving this, and I've not done this for a while, I'm giving this 90 out of 100 because it is such a banger of a whisky. And it's really nice, by the way, for me to be in a position to applaud and really enjoy and I've got nothing negative to say about this. Nothing. And unfortunately, there's whiskies out there now that I can find fault for a simple reason. There's faults in them. There's faults that shouldn't be there because the producers are cutting corners. And you'll notice the negativity that's been creeping into my channel over the last year or so. You'll notice the increasingly why I had to bring my average marks down, because they were too flattering, too complimentary, and frankly, the whisky was no longer worth those marks. And I'm not here just as an unpaid cheerleader for an industry that frankly isn't looking after its business. That's not my purpose. My purpose is to actually just remind you, the whisky enthusiast, that there are people online who are sharing their experiences and their journey to help you with your journey and to help with the wider conversation as to help us avoid making mistakes. Because when we do make mistakes, we can tolerate a few, but then eventually we walk away from the category completely and we stop buying whisky. And by the way, there's people doing that right now. But you wouldn't want to walk away when you've got a whisky like this. This is a whisky that made Scotch whisky's reputation. This is a sort of bottling that did that. And you will not find it in the supermarket. Don't even look. Don't waste your time. Don't even bother with the... You're like the rest, the passive consumer. They see the discount. They're still not buying. They just don't see the point. I mean, I know of one old guy who just gets a bottle of vodka and just puts some whiskey flavouring in it because he doesn't have a bad head the following day. Seriously. This is what it's coming to. So I hope you've enjoyed this review. I'm going to give you the final conclusion here with the price that I paid for this bottle. Now, bear in mind, there is a buyer's commission that goes on top and taxation, okay? And of course, if you're going to get your bottles delivered by courier, you've got to factor that in. And it's not such a big issue for me because I'm basically within the British Isles. But if you're outside of the UK, I'm afraid you're wasting your time, to be honest. And you're probably overspending in your money because you're paying such outrageous fees simply for someone to courier a bottle of alcohol across the Atlantic. It's absurd. It's a very rigged industry, courier and postal now. But that's real life. So what did I pay for this? Jura hand-filled distillery cask 1892. Let's confirm that. 1892, yeah. £95. Right, so £95 plus VAT. I did pay a small amount for getting it posted to me, so we're talking about £120. Was it worth it? Absolutely, it's worth it. Was I taking a chance? Yeah, I was taking a chance. But there again, I reduced the risk of taking a chance because this isn't a bottle that's going to get faked. Nobody wants to even bother faking a Jura because it's got no reputation. But when you get bottles, you get a wee kind of feeling, a wee pot. I think, there's something in this. Will we take a chance? And the fact that it's a recent bottling from 2022 means it's not accumulated old bottle effect and it's not gone a bit cheesy. So there's less risk. Say if it had been 1972, then it would be more of a risk. But I've opened it. It's absolutely wonderful stuff. You can possibly see a little bit of Scotch mist creeping in there, just a little bit. Still got a way to go, but there we have it. If you want to pop back again, I'm going to kind of basically cover what is a good whisky, what is it really, and what should you be looking for. So I hope you'll join me then. See you soon. Bye-bye.